That sudden flash of inspiration, that moment of deep peace, what are they really touching? What if every thought and feeling you have is just a small ripple on the surface of an infinite ocean of potential? This is not a philosophical fantasy. It is the starting point for a radical new understanding of consciousness itself. By the end of this exploration, you will see your own mind not as a private possession, but as a gateway to the fundamental field from which all reality arises. We will uncover how your sense of a separate self is an illusion, and what it truly means to access a state of pure possibility. What single experience first made you wonder if there is more to your mind than you were taught? We often mistake the contents of consciousness for consciousness itself. You hear a bird sing, you feel a cool breeze, you remember a childhood friend. These are all objects appearing within your awareness, but what is the space in which they appear? That space, that pure awareness, is what we are pointing to when we speak of consciousness as a field. It is not a thing, but the ground of all things. Modern science has grown comfortable with invisible fields. Think of gravity or the electromagnetic field. You cannot see the electromagnetic field with your eyes, yet it is everywhere. It is the fundamental reality that gives rise to the specific phenomena of light, to radio waves, to the very structure of atoms. Without this underlying field, these manifestations would be impossible. Now consider consciousness in the very same way. What if your personal thoughts, your private feelings, and even the solid world you perceive are all just localized expressions of a single, universal field of awareness? This field is not inside your skull. Your brain is more like a receiver, a sophisticated instrument tuning into this non-local reality, translating its infinite potential into your individual experience. This is not a new idea, though it is a radical departure from our conventional story. For centuries, the wisdom tradition of Advaita Vedanta has spoken of Brahman, the single, non-dual reality that is the source and substance of everything. In the West, a growing number of philosophers and scientists are exploring panpsychism, the view that consciousness is a fundamental feature of the universe present in all matter. These diverse paths are all converging on the same breathtaking possibility. There is one unified field, and you are not separate from it. You are a localized expression of it, a temporary whirlpool in this vast ocean of potential. What changes in your life when you start to see yourself not as a fragile island of self, but as the entire ocean expressing itself as a wave? The solid world around you begins to dissolve at the subatomic level. Here, particles do not exist in fixed locations with definite properties. Instead, they exist as a blur of probabilities, a cloud of potential. This is not a metaphor. It is the bedrock of quantum physics. The most startling discovery is the observer effect. An electron is not a tiny marble. It is a set of possibilities, a wave of maybe. It does not collapse into a specific point in space until it is measured, until a conscious observation is made. This suggests something profound. The act of seeing, the act of knowing, is not a passive reflection of reality. It is a creative force that brings a specific reality into being from a sea of what could be. Mind and matter are not separate domains. They are deeply, inextricably linked. Physicists describe the vacuum of space not as a true emptiness, but as a vibrant, seething ocean of energy. They call this the quantum vacuum or the zero-point field. It is a field of pure potential, a foundational reality from which every particle, every force, everything we call real momentarily springs forth and then returns. This is the perfect scientific metaphor for the field of all possibility we have been exploring. Your consciousness is not looking at this field from the outside. Your awareness is the very instrument that reaches into this quantum sea of potential and actualizes a specific experience. Your focused attention is like a measurement in the laboratory of your own life. It collapses the wave of infinite possibility into the particle of your present moment reality. Think of a time you learned a new word. Suddenly, you started seeing it everywhere. The word did not suddenly populate the world. Your awareness, now tuned to that specific frequency, plucked it from the field of all possible data and made it real in your experience. Your worries operate on the same principle. By giving them your anxious attention, you are not just observing a problem. You are actively collapsing the wave function of your future into a reality dominated by that very worry. You are making it solid, but what if you could change the measurement? What if you could shift your attention from the problem to the possibility? The field itself holds no bias. It contains every potential outcome from disaster to triumph. Your conscious attention is the key that unlocks one and tells the universe, this one, make this one real. This persistent feeling of being a separate self, a little me living inside your head, is the most convincing illusion you will ever know. It feels so undeniably real. You wake up in the morning as the same person who went to sleep. Your memories, your desires, your fears, they all seem to belong to this central character. But what if this I is not the fundamental reality, but merely a construct, a temporary formation within the vast field of consciousness? Think of a whirlpool in a great river. The whirlpool has a distinct shape and pattern. It might even trap leaves and twigs, creating a unique identity. It could easily believe it is a separate, independent entity, distinct from the flow of the river itself. But if you look closely, you see there is no substance to the whirlpool that is not the river. It is entirely made of the river's water, and its existence is completely dependent on the river's continuous flow. The moment the river stops, the whirlpool vanishes. Your sense of self is that whirlpool. It is a localized knot of thoughts, memories, and sensations within the boundless field of awareness. The thoughts say, I am sad. The memory claims, this happened to me. The sensation screams, this is my pain. This constant narrative, this internal commentary, weaves together a stable-seeming character. But you are not the character in the story. You are the silent space in which the entire story is being told. Spiritual awakening, in its most essential form, is not about gaining something new or achieving a special state. It is the simple, profound recognition of what you have always been. It is the whirlpool suddenly realizing it is the entire ocean. The separate self does not go anywhere, it is simply seen through. Its solidity dissolves back into the field from which it arose. The fear and anxiety that come from protecting this fragile self begin to lose their power because you are no longer identified with something that needs protection. You are the ocean, and no single wave can threaten the depths. This is not a belief to adopt, but a reality to recognize. Can you sense, even for a moment, the awareness that is reading these words right now? That aware space before any thought arises is what you truly are. It is the field of all possibility, quietly knowing itself. So the question becomes, how do we consciously engage with this creative power? The mechanics are surprisingly direct, involving two of our most fundamental human faculties, attention and intention. Your attention is the laser beam that illuminates a specific possibility within the infinite field. Your intention is the heartfelt charge, the emotional energy that tells the universe which possibility truly matters to you. Together, they form the very mechanism that collapses the wave of potential into the particle of your lived experience. Think of a scientist grappling with a complex problem. For weeks, the solution remains hidden in that sea of potential. Then, in a moment of deep focus, her attention is completely absorbed, her intention clear and unwavering. Suddenly, the elegant solution crystallizes in her mind. It feels like a discovery, and it is, but it is also an act of co-creation. Her sustained attention and sincere intention reached into the field of all possibility and called forth the specific answer. An artist experiences the very same process. He does not merely copy the world. He holds a vision, a feeling, an intention for what he wants to express. Then, with focused attention on the canvas, he guides his hand, and a masterpiece emerges from a blank space. The painting was always there as a potential, a pattern of energy in the field, waiting for a conscious collaborator to bring it into physical form. This is not magic, it is physics. You are doing this every single day, whether you realize it or not. When you wake up anxious about a meeting, your attention is fixated on scenarios of failure. Your intention, fueled by fear, is powerfully set on avoiding that outcome. And what do you often get? A version of reality where your nervousness creates the very tension you feared. You collapse that particular wave, but you can learn to aim your instruments with more skill. Start with a simple desire. Perhaps you wish to feel more peace in your day. First, set a clear and gentle intention for peace. Then, throughout your day, deliberately place your attention on moments where peace is already present. The feeling of warm water on your hands, the sight of a tree swaying in the wind, the space between two thoughts. Your attention gathers the raw material of peace, and your intention weaves it into the fabric of your reality. You are not a passive passenger in this universe. You are a co-creator holding a sacred set of tools. Your attention directs the energy, and your intention defines the destination. What reality are you right now in the process of calling into being? A man diagnosed with a terminal illness, given only months to live, makes a profound inner shift. He stops fighting the disease and instead turns his full attention toward life itself, toward gratitude for every small moment. Miraculously, his body begins to heal. Medical scans later show no trace of the illness, leaving his doctors with no scientific explanation. This is not a breach of natural law, it is a demonstration of it. His consciousness, by releasing its fixation on the problem of sickness and aligning instead with the field of vibrant health and possibility, collapsed a different wave. He reached past the limited probabilities of his diagnosis and tapped into a deeper current of wholeness that the field always holds. History is filled with such accounts. A composer hears a complete symphony in a dream, waking to transcribe a masterpiece note for note. A mother, against all odds, lifts a car to save her trapped child. These are not random flukes. They are moments when the individual self, with its fears and limitations, falls silent. In that quiet, the infinite potential of the field rushes in. The composer was not generating music from his personal mind alone. He became a clear channel for a pattern that already existed in the field of all possibility. The mother was not operating on personal strength, but tapped into the fundamental energy of the universe itself, an energy that is always available. We call these events miracles only because our conventional understanding of reality is so narrow. From the perspective of the field, they are simply natural expressions of a deeper alignment. Think of a radio. If you are tuned to a station broadcasting static, you hear only noise. This is like a mind fixated on worry and limitation, but the airwaves are also filled with beautiful music. The spontaneous healing, the burst of inspiration, the impossible feat of strength, these are moments when the dial of personal consciousness suddenly, perfectly, tunes to a clearer frequency. The static of the separate self fades, and for a glorious moment, the individual becomes a pure instrument for the field's intelligence. You have likely experienced a smaller version of this yourself. That sudden solution to a problem that arrives the moment you stop thinking about it, the unexpected phone call from a friend you were just reminiscing about. These meaningful coincidences, these synchronicities, are whispers from the field. They are confirmations that you are not a separate entity navigating a dead universe, but an intimate participant in a living, responsive field of consciousness. Your very awareness is the needle that reads the grooves of this vast record of possibility. The next time you face an obstacle that seems immovable, ask yourself this. Are you staring at the static, or are you willing to turn the dial? Yet that very radio dial is often stuck, tuned to a single, familiar, and often painful station. We speak of accessing infinite possibility, but our daily reality can feel frustratingly finite. This limitation is not a flaw in the field. It is created by the filters we have built, the obstacles that prevent us from experiencing ourselves as the open, flowing awareness we truly are. The first and most powerful filter is our collection of conditioned beliefs. From childhood, we are taught what is possible and what is not. You might have absorbed the idea that money is hard to come by, that you are not particularly creative, or that expressing certain emotions is unsafe. These beliefs are not truths, they are stories repeated so often they feel like reality itself. They act like a lens placed over the infinite field, coloring everything you see and allowing only those possibilities that match the story to manifest in your life. If you hold a deep belief that you are unlucky, your attention will be magnetically drawn to every minor misfortune, solidifying that reality while completely overlooking the small miracles also present. Past traumas create another profound blockage. A painful event, especially one from early life, can freeze a moment in time, creating a rigid story about how the world works. If you were deeply betrayed, your system might conclude that trust is dangerous. This conclusion then becomes a filter, a defensive structure that scans the field of all possibility for threats, actively collapsing waves of connection and intimacy before they can even form. Your consciousness, tasked with exploring an open universe, becomes a guard in a fortress of your own making. Then there is the constant mental chatter, the internal narrator that never seems to pause. This stream of thoughts, judgments, and commentary is what we often mistake for ourselves. It is like static on the radio, a relentless noise that drowns out the subtle, guiding signals from the deeper field. When your attention is perpetually captured by this internal dialogue, you lose the quiet, receptive space necessary to tune into new possibilities. You are too busy listening to the worried monologue to hear the symphony playing just beneath it. Underlying all of this is a fundamental fear of the unknown. The separate self, the ego, finds its identity in the known. It is comfortable with its familiar problems, its predictable struggles. The infinite field of all possibility is by its very nature unknown and unpredictable. To truly open to it feels, from the ego's perspective, like death. It is the fear of the whirlpool losing its distinct shape and merging back into the river. So the mind creates a rigid identity, a solid sense of me that filters the field's boundless potential, allowing only a narrow, familiar, and manageable range of experiences to manifest. This is why life can feel like a recurring loop. You keep manifesting the same relationship dynamics, the same financial challenges, the same emotional reactions. You are not cursed, you are simply operating with a filter that only permits a very specific and often limited version of reality to come through. The field itself holds every beautiful potential, but your receiver is tuned to a station broadcasting only the stories of the past. Recognizing these obstacles is not about self-blame. It is the first and most crucial step in cleaning the lens. What old story are you still believing that limits what you think you can be? Meditation is the deliberate act of turning down the volume on that constant mental static. It is not about achieving a state of blank emptiness, which is nearly impossible. Instead, it is the simple, radical practice of noticing the static without getting lost in its stories. You sit, you close your eyes, and you bring your attention to a single anchor, often the physical sensation of your own breath. Inevitably, a thought arises, a worry about a deadline, a memory of a conversation, a plan for dinner. This is not a failure, this is the entire point of the practice. You notice the thought, you acknowledge its presence without judgment, and then you gently return your attention to the breath. You are not trying to stop the ripples on the water. You are learning to rest in the depths beneath them. With consistent practice, something remarkable begins to happen. The frantic pace of your thoughts begins to slow. The space between them widens. In those growing moments of silence, a profound shift in identity occurs. You are no longer exclusively identified as the thinker, the one who is worried or planning. You become the aware space in which the thinking is happening. You are not the cloud passing by, you are the vast sky holding the cloud. This is not a philosophical concept to be understood intellectually. It is a direct, felt experience of the field itself. The field is not made of thoughts any more than the ocean is made of waves. Thoughts are the temporary activity on its surface. In the deepening silence of meditation, the activity settles and you are left with the substance. You taste the stillness that is your true nature. This is the gateway. Every time you sit and witness a thought without being carried away by it, you are reinforcing a new neural pathway. You are training your system to identify with the field of awareness, not with the limited content that flows within it. The peace you may feel is not something you create. It is what remains when you stop creating so much noise. It was always there, the silent, humming potential of consciousness itself, waiting to be noticed. What would your life feel like if you could carry even a fraction of that silent, spacious awareness into your next difficult conversation or your next moment of doubt? There is another doorway into this field, one you may have already entered without even realizing it. Recall a time you were so absorbed in an activity that hours felt like minutes. Perhaps you were lost in a piece of music, your fingers moving on their own accord. Maybe you were running on a trail, your body and the landscape merging into a single, fluid motion. In that space, the internal critic falls silent. There is no past, no future, only the pure, unfolding present. This is a flow state, and it is a direct taste of consciousness as the field of all possibility. In flow, the mental filter of the separate self dissolves. The constant narration that says, "I am doing this," quiets down. What remains is pure, unmediated action. It feels as if the music is playing itself through you, as if the trail is running your legs. You are not creating the art, you are being created by it. This is not a poetic exaggeration. It is a precise description of what happens when your personal awareness stops interfering and allows the intelligence of the field to express itself directly. The great athlete does not consciously calculate each muscle movement during a perfect play. Their training has prepared the instrument, but in the peak moment, the conscious mind gets out of the way. Action arises spontaneously from a deeper source. They become a conduit for a grace and precision that feels gifted, not earned. This is the field in motion. It is the universe expressing its boundless creativity through a human form. When you are in flow, you are no longer collapsing reality from a place of personal desire or fear. You are aligning with a current of pure potential, and your life becomes an expression of its natural, effortless unfolding. Effort itself transforms. The struggle and strain that characterize so much of our lives come from the separate self trying to control outcomes. It is the whirlpool fighting the river. But in flow, effort ceases to feel like effort. There is a profound doing without a sense of a doer. You are carried by the current, and your actions are perfectly attuned to the needs of the moment. This is why solutions to complex problems often arrive not when we are grinding at them, but when we step away and enter a state of flow, gardening, painting, or simply walking. In those moments, you stop trying to force a wave to collapse. You relax back into the ocean, and the answer rises to the surface on its own. These peak experiences are not reserved for artists and athletes. They are available to anyone who engages deeply with life. A chef lost in the rhythm of chopping vegetables, a programmer so immersed in code the world fades away, a parent fully present in a child's game. Each is a glimpse of your true nature. You are not an isolated thinker, but a dynamic, creative expression of the field itself. Your task is not to manufacture these states, but to notice what activities naturally invite you in, and then to surrender to them more often. What if your work, your hobbies, even your simplest daily tasks could become portals into this infinite creativity? This entire journey brings us to a single, life-altering invitation. It is the invitation to stop living as the anxious, isolated whirlpool and to begin living as the whole river. The shift is not in what you are, but in what you identify with. You are asked to trade the cramped quarters of a separate self for the boundless horizon of pure awareness. This is not a distant spiritual goal. It is the most practical shift you can ever make, transforming how you meet every challenge, every joy, and every ordinary moment. The practices we have explored are not esoteric rituals. They are the tools for this fundamental reorientation. Meditation quiets the mental noise so you can rest as the aware space itself. Flow states allow you to experience life as a spontaneous expression of the field's intelligence, and the simple, moment-to-moment act of shifting your attention from problem to possibility is how you actively co-create a more graceful reality. Understanding this is a beginning, but experience is everything. This is not a philosophy to be filed away. It is a reality to be lived, felt, and explored in the laboratory of your own awareness. So start where you are. The next time you feel a surge of worry, pause, feel the breath in your body. Notice the space around the worried thought. In that pause, you are not a person trying to solve a problem. You are the field, aware of a temporary pattern of energy. The next time you are lost in a task you love, surrender to it completely. Let the doer dissolve into the doing and taste the freedom of being a pure channel for creativity. Your life is your practice. Every moment offers a choice. Will you listen to the static of the separate self, or will you tune your receiver to the deeper signal of wholeness? Will you see yourself as a fragile drop fighting against the ocean, or will you recognize the breathtaking truth contained in these ancient words? You are not a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean in a drop. We would love to hear from you in the comments. Share a moment when you felt this connection, when the static faded and you touched that infinite field of peace, creativity, or knowing. Your story might be the very signal that helps someone else tune their dial.